Thank you for joining the Alien Probe podcast. The Great Los Angeles Air Raid, an event that took place in the wee hours of February 25th, 1942, just over 3 months after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and brought the United States into World War II. Air raid sirens began going off as anti-aircraft guns and searchlights began combing the skies over Los Angeles as they hunted for rumored enemy aircraft, but none were spotted or shot down. The incident was covered extensively by local and national press, but no one could give a satisfactory explanation of what precipitated the alarm. Today, we have our senior producer, Robert, with us. Welcome, Robert.
How's it going, Doug?
Yeah,
I'm here. I can hear you. That's a little weird. I don't think I've ever called you Doug.
I know, Doug. But you want to do Dad?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, man.
It's kind of funny.
Let me just feel it out. I gotta get comfortable with it. You know.
Robert's okay. You can call me Doug. It's okay. It's
all
funny
right.
Because my other son Johnny works with me, and he calls me Doug. And then our regional manager, which is answers to both of we both answer to him, gets mad at him for him not calling me Dad. So, you can call me Doug. I said it's fine. You can call me Doug. It's kind of weird. So, what have you been up to? You want to pimp your stream, man? Yeah,
I'll pimp my stream. I've got an amazing stream going on, you guys. And while I don't quite cover anything, it's kind of about nonsense, and I rant and rave about a bunch of garbage that's upsetting me at any given time, and a lot of news and current events. I think it's a good listen. I'm huge in France for some reason, but I'd love to get some new American listeners and get some of that sweet India pie that I know Doug here's got. Trying to get some more Hyderabad folks. So go on over to check out Armageddon Dance Party. You can get it on any leading podcast network. You can also see me live Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific on my Twitch channel. That is twitch.com/That's Robert Anthony. Again, that is twitch.com/That's Robert Anthony. And I'll be sure to place a link in the description for you. Make sure your listeners have a good way to get in touch with me if they need to. I'm happy to be here. I've been a big part of the podcast on the back end for a bit. I was on one of the earlier episodes, but I've been proud to see the podcast grow in the way that it has. And, and definitely technically and from a popularity aspect. So I'm happy to be back and discuss, obviously, one of my favorite subjects in UFOs. Like my father, I am huge into science fiction and UFOlogy, as it were. So this is exciting for me. I'm into it. And it is kind of weird, though, because we got the same voice. So I don't know if people are going to be able to tell the difference between us.
This is going to be interesting, that's for sure. So I assume you followed this story over the years. I know you were pretty excited when I brought this up that we were going to talk about it.
And I think, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's okay. It kind of started this whole thing started. Well, this whole thing didn't really, but it was after the Pearl Harbor attacks on December 9th. There was reports that approaching aircraft caused they did cause I get nervous when you're here because I don't know, it feels like my boss is here. I don't know, it's weird.
Why?
A minor invasion.
Because I yell at you all about you. I always yell at this guy about his computer. I feel like the relationship has dramatically changed ever since you started a podcast. My patience level with you has dropped about 90%. I don't really understand why.
I get a little depressed after we have our conversation. I don't know. Just look on the internet. Okay, so approaching aircraft caused a minor approaching aircraft had caused a minor invasion panic in New York City and sent stock prices tumbling. I didn't know. Did you know that? That was kind of weird. As I looked through this. It happened.
Are you talking about the Santa Barbara? Are you talking about the Santa Barbara thing?
Next, next.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, on the west. Yeah, that happened on December 9th. So, December 7th. A couple days later, there were unsubstantiated reports of aircraft invading New York City, and then stock prices fell. On the West Coast, though, this is the one you're talking about, I think. But they're inexperienced pilots and radar men. They're mistaken fishing boats and logs and whales for Japanese warships and submarines.
Right.
So tensions were a little high, leading up to the Battle of Los Angeles. Battle Los Angeles, not to be mistaken with Battle Los Angeles, the movie. I assume you've seen that movie. Have you
I
seen
have
it?
seen the movie.
It's
Yeah,
it's pretty badass. I liked it. I
I
liked
didn't.
it.
I wasn't a huge fan myself. But all right,
You were,
we'll
that's
move on.
okay.
It's not a fucking movie review podcast.
It doesn't take much with me. Okay, I love science fiction. Okay, so tensions were high, and the U.S. Secretary of War Henry Stimson warned that American cities should be prepared to accept occasional blows from enemy forces, and not the good kind. So, so you're talking about what you know about the Santa Barbara attack, right? I mean,
Yes, I believe it is called the Bombardment of Elwood.
oh, I did not see that. Is that a
Yes.
city?
Yeah, it's I believe it is it's a oil field, the Elwood oil field. It's a little north of Santa Barbara, and when you hear about the Battle of Los Angeles, this isn't referenced as much, but this is really the thing that got tension so high, because this was a legitimate attack on the mainland, and because Pearl Harbor was so fresh, it was like, oh shit, now shit is accelerating majorly. Like they're gonna start pouring in at any second. And I think this also led to a lot of the xenophobia and stuff involved in the internment camps. It was like a lot of irrational fear based on relatively small compared to like what was happening over in Europe. But it was like we already had in our heads through the news how much shit was going on in Europe. And then we were already scared that it was going to happen. So the bombardment of Elwood was like, oh my God, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And then of course, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you keep. Well, it was off the coast of Santa Barbara. They hurled a dozen like a Japanese submarine surfaced off the coast of Santa Barbara and hurled over a dozen artillery shells at the oil field and refinery.
Yeah,
and I guess that's the Elwood thing.
That's it.
The attack, there were no casualties and really only caused minor damage, but it marked the first time that the mainland U.S. had been bombed during World War. We didn't get, that was the only time, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think that was, and honestly, like I knew very little about it until like I really started looking into this, and I was like, holy shit, like I think that is. I mean, other than 9/11, of course, but that wasn't like a traditional war kind of thing, So
yeah, it was interesting. But the day after the oil field, there was the paranoia and itchy fingers combined to produce one of the most this Battle of Los Angeles thing, because everybody's on edge now,
Mm-hmm.
and the Naval Intelligence instructed units in California coast to steel themselves for a potential Japanese attack. So everything kind of remained calm for the next few hours after 2 a.m. on February 25th in 42. Military radar picked up on what appeared to be an enemy contact 120 miles west of Los Angeles. Air raid sirens sounded, and then a citywide blackout was put out in effect. And the blackout was, there were casualties in the Battle of Los Angeles, and really it was because of car accidents, because people were driving without their lights.
Yeah, mass hysteria. I mean, I can only imagine what people would feel like then, like in the entire city of Los Angeles goes dark, and then and the air raid sirens start up. You're like, oh shit, it's fucking happening. It's happening right here in LA. Like I mean, I probably would have gotten a car accident too if I was driving and that happened. If everybody's is everybody turning their lights out too? Like,
yeah, it was a blackout. They had to, and there's stories in here that people were getting arrested. There's Japanese people were signaling and driving with their lights on, and they're getting arrested and placed in internment camps because they thought they were trying to signal the aircraft.
Oh my God, Jesus!
I know, it was crazy, So they had the FCC. So anyway, following reports of an unidentified object, so Santa Monica unleashed a barrage of anti-aircraft and 50 cal machine gun fire, and most of the city's other coastal defense weapons all had joined in. Now that would be, it's too bad the tech wasn't there, because can you imagine what that looked and sounded like?
Dude.
And
Yeah, and I've been up and down that coast on the PCH, and I can only imagine a lot of it's dismantled now, but I it's so crazy to think about just like going up and down like Santa Monica Boulevard or the PCH, and there's just like cannons going off into the ocean just everywhere. That would be so nuts.
well, they were shooting at this powerful and you've seen that picture, and it almost looks surreal. It's almost like it's not a real picture, but it is, of all the searchlights shining and pinpointing on this one image in the sky, and then all the explosions happening around it. They actually got a picture of that, and it's so weird looking. But chaos reigned for several minutes. Of course, I'm surprised it was just several minutes, and they saw nothing but smoke and the glare of the ACAC fire. That's the 50. I think that's a 50 cal. Their imagination could easily see shapes in the sky. I mean, I don't know if you got seen any information on what they saw, what people actually saw. I heard just a round object, in the sky there. Did you?
Yeah. Well, like the thing is, and from what I've researched into different reports, there's been a lot of talk that those pictures were doctored, which was somewhat common in that era because the pictures were so kind of crappy to begin with, So they would kind of doctor them. But if you look at I think there's 3 different versions. So when you look, there's like one specific version where you look at it and you're like, that is a UFO that they're shooting at, obviously. Yeah. And I think that, and if this isn't true, it's still a fascinating story. But if it isn't true, that probably contributed to a lot of the concern and kind of, history around this kind of this specific situation. The picture's nuts. There's obviously reports that it was a weather balloon, but what I found interesting most of all is that there were multiple reports of eyewitnesses saying they saw 2 different planes fall out of the sky and explode, but then at the end of the day, they never found any planes. I think when it was all said and done and they did reports on it, they were saying that, well, the original UFO was probably just a commercial aircraft that didn't have the proper authorization to be flying in the area at the time, which, I mean, frankly, at that time, it seemed, why would anybody do that except they were on like a suicide mission, right? Just like flying out like right off the coast of LA, just like in an unauthorized aircraft.
Yeah, and the two planes they said they shot, I mean, there was no debris. I mean, they said there was nothing unusual, even though there's a lot of a couple of homes exploded because of shells that, were just crashed into the houses after they came down. People's homes were destroyed. But they said there was, they said, it was a balloon. I don't know if you read about that. Yeah, it's always a balloon, is it? It was a balloon. And, MUFON looked into it. Of course, I have to look into it. What did MUFON say about this? Of course, they weren't there at the time, but they said that, there was an object there. You could see it and only MUFON could do this. They said that if you use the negative, look at the negative, you can see the image of the object that was in the sky. They said, and on top of that, they said, if it was a balloon, do you think a balloon would have survived? Because the story is the thing just continued floating on down the coast after all this mayhem. Yeah. MUFON's like, how in the hell would that thing keep moving? Because you can just see all the explode. There's no balloon on the planet, on this Earth, that's going to be able to survive that. So it kept floating down the coast. So, MUFON's deal is, it was some sort of, it may not have been. Well, of course they say, it's definitely extraterrestrial. Of course I want to believe that, but there was, it just wasn't happening. But, and then Japan said, of course, don't deny, that they had, we, got into contact with Japan, right after 1941. I guess we just phoned them and said, hey, was that you?
Yeah, they said no. The weather balloon thing, I believe, is the official story. And I believe the official story is that it was 2 weather balloons. One that was released and it floated down the coast. And after the Battle of Los Angeles had started, another one had been released in a different area, and that's why it continued as long as it did, which doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't follow this story, and like some aspects of it, I tend to kind of consider and think, okay, maybe. But
yeah.
But overall, there's just something very weird about this story.
Yeah.
The overall hype and hysteria surrounding the specific area of Southern California at this time, again, because of the bombardment that happened right before, and then, of course, Pearl Harbor, I can get it. So I can understand why everybody would be so on edge. But it does seem odd that that the weather balloon thing is used again, and that the story, I believe, was that it didn't get shot down because it is ascended higher than the previous reading. So I mean, I'm not sure. The picture, I don't know if I've seen the negative one closely that you're referring to, but it just doesn't seem, I don't know. It seems like there's something weird going on. But if aliens were always kind of watching us and observing us, why would they make this big of a fuck up? They would have to think that like this would result in something.
It was obviously an extraterrestrial trainee, like over at Roswell. The 2 of them, 2 or 3 or whatever, they just crashed. I mean, this is something I've had other guests on. I said, why? What are they just training in there? They just don't know how to fly the fucking things. And the other ones were like, would it be funny if we went over the coast of California? You know how much mayhem this is going to cause? And look at them all shooting at us. They can't. It's not like they can shoot us down. I don't know.
Just on a dare. A dare. They're just drunk.
Well, they're teenage craze, They're just, there's hormones, I think, but there's no genitals that anybody can see, so I don't know how it works. But I don't know. But there's this artilleryman, James Charles Patrick. He later wrote in a letter. He said, "I could see 6 planes, and shells were bursting all around them. Naturally, all of us fellows were anxious to get our 2 cents worth in. And when the command to shoot came, everyone cheered like a son of a gun and then started blasting."
Yeah.
And this thing continued for over an hour.
Yeah, it was a long time.
By the time the all clear order came later in the morning, the artillery batteries pumped over 1,400 rounds of aircraft ammunition, anti-aircraft ammunition into the sky. And then, of course, the damage on the ground was, I'm surprised nobody got killed from this crap falling from the sky.
Yeah.
But again, we've removed, I believe, UFOs. I believe, if a Japanese plane crashed into which earlier I had seen in the article that a Japanese plane fell on Hollywood Boulevard, that I think somebody would have noticed that, and
right. I mean, it almost seems like with that amount of a response, the government would have wished that it would have been something that they could have at least spun into being related to the war, instead of just like, about that hour last night where we just started firing basically everything we have off the coast of Los Angeles. I think maybe it was a balloon. Like, I don't really know. Like, it seems like a bad sell. So, I mean, it almost would have been better if they would have taken out something. But, of course, that would have been indicative of something much larger looming. But, they did the Japanese government. I'm not sure if it was right after or at the end of World War II. They were like, we didn't send anything over at that time. So we don't know what the fuck you guys were on, because that was not us at all.
I don't know what you were shooting at, but it wasn't us. And you guys are looking stupid, but whatever. We got Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Look, I can see why they'd have itchy trigger fingers after Pearl Harbor. It's like, they bomb them, then they bomb us, and then a Japanese submarine shoots at our, shoots at our refinery. It's like, I would be a little trigger happy myself. I could see where,
Well, the Pearl Harbor thing, that's a military attack, right? Yes. I mean, so that's not, like it's all tragic. And don't get me wrong, Pearl Harbor was definitely tragic, but I feel like that's kind of a different thing than like, okay, now we're fucking marching into people's homes. Like now we're engaging in conflict, like on the mainland, like, on the PCH and shit like that. That is like a different kind of mind fuck. And that would like signal a serious escalation. At least in my opinion, it's weird to drive. Weird, like I said, it's weird to drive around there and like consider the fact that, man, this might have been like a war zone at one time.
Well, yeah, the mainland obviously will be a bit more serious, especially since that's closer to where you and I would have been. And the Hawaiian Islands is, how long does it take to get there by even jet now?
Not even that long.
It's Hawaiian Islands, but like you said, very serious, but
because like Hawaii is a halfway point, right, between like us and Japan. Yeah, so it's like significantly shorter. I mean, I think I'm not a geography expert. I could be.
Yeah, but one dud careened into a Long Beach golf course, and several residents had their homes partially destroyed by the 3-inch artillery shells.
Jesus, can you imagine?
No,
and they probably thought it was Japan too, not like us fucking up.
Yeah,
it's like they fucking got their houses destroyed over that. Jesus,
that's fucked up. And then 5 people died as a result of heart attacks and car accidents occurred during the extended blackout.
God, I hope it was aliens. What a fuck up if not.
Authorities also arrested 20 Japanese Americans for allegedly trying to signal the non-existent aircraft, which they probably didn't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for laughing.
Yeah, but they probably didn't. I mean, we were that whole internment thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan. Not a fan at all, actually. So they named it, and the next few days, the Battle of Los Angeles, and the Frank Knox, the Navy Secretary of the Navy, dismissed the firefight as a false alarm brought on by jittery nerves. But Secretary of War Henry Stimson echoed Army brass in saying that 15 planes had buzzed the city. He even advanced the theory that the Phantom fighters might have been commercial aircraft operated by enemy agents hoping to strike fear into the public. I think that kind of leads into what you had said.
Yeah. Got to spin it.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Things have not changed that much in 2021.
No, it's just. I think it's just way more hardcore now.
I mean, I know you touch on some of I watch your streams. You touch on some of the political aspects of things that are going on, and it's kind of it's kind of nice to hear that.
Yeah, I like to when I talk politics, I kind of talk about it from more of a centrist point of view instead of like kind of either or left or right. And kind of the middle. I mean, the silent majority, I guess, is what you would call them. And I try to bring a little bit more common sense about like how our government actually operates and all the fucked up things we do on both sides of the aisle, and how it's not necessarily a great thing to just always root for whoever's wearing the same color tie as you're wearing, or root for the same banner as you, because I think in most cases that actually causes more damage, more harm than good. I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah. But I mean, this is a fucking alien podcast. I'm not trying to bum anybody out or lose a random as New York listener or something.
Well, no, and it's funny you should mention the middle, because that's kind of what we try to do with the podcast. I've got people. I have a real job, and I have people. I'm on LinkedIn. I put it on LinkedIn last week that I was the host.
Oh,
and I got 2 phone calls 2 messages on LinkedIn, which I have like 246 people, and in my industry. And do you really do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I go, yeah, it's something I've always been interested in my whole life. But like you said, the middle, I say, I'm not like, oh yeah, UFOs, aliens. I'm still curious as to what the deal is with this. I don't think it can be. Something has to be real about it. But I haven't seen a UFO or an alien, and it seems to
You've
be.
never had any kind of experience, right?
No. So well, there was one time when I lived up in the foothills that I had, there was like 3 stars. They looked like 3 stars, and through them were lights coming through the stars. It would be like an aircraft light, how you see it. And there was way off into the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And there was it was like almost like you could consider it. And I wasn't drinking yet that night.
Uh-huh.
So the lights, because that's always the first question. How many cocktails did you have?
Yeah.
And actually one of your brother's friends was there, and he saw it with me. I wanted to get in contact with him, see if he remembers. But there were lights coming through this triangle, like they were just appearing as though they came from somewhere else and came out the front of this triangle. And it was bizarre. There was nothing I could use it was too far to do any kind of photography with it. And it was just a bizarre, it might have been something else that, was making that happen. But there was light after light coming through this triangle, and it was weird. So I think, if I have to say, that's probably, but that isn't the reason. I mean, I've been following this with, my brother since we were, in elementary school. I mean, we wanted to build radar. There were so many sightings back in the day that we said we want to see this, and
yeah.
we're going to have a guy on from North Dakota, is a coworker's dad. He was a radar operator in Korea. And he saw, I'm not sure if he saw the flying saucer, but he definitely saw him on the scope. He says he's a believer. He's a believer, like, he wants to go. If I see one, I'm going to go. I'm going to get inside. From what I've seen, I'm not getting anywhere near a UFO. It gets on the ground, because from all the stuff that you hear that they do to people, I'm probably not going to get on that. That's probably.
I'd get on. I'd get on it. I'm bored, man. I'm so bored. Like, my life is just bills and like fucking TV and like Netflix and shit. I'm fucking miserable. Like, there's got to be something else. I will get on. Stick me with whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. Put anything up my ass. I don't care. I just want to experience something new.
Make sure you slide in. Make sure you get some footage. So, I can put it on my stream. So I feel for you up there. And I got a regular. I've been blessed with having a good regular job that I go to every day, and we were essential, so I had to go in, and so I have lots of people working with me, and we have to, but we're all in masks and all the sanitation, and we abide. It's a lot different world out there, but
that's fucking I mean, I actually had an experience myself, and I didn't see anything, but this is really weird. There's a lot of weird. I mean, there's like episodes. There's other episodes I want to do about Southern California with you, because there's a lot of shit here that I'm not even sure that you've touched on yet. And this specifically, I didn't realize this until recently, but this is specifically related to that. The only experience that I've had is I lived in Santa Monica at one point, like right near the beach. You never came and visited. It's fine. We're not going to touch on it. But it was a very nice apartment. It was right on the beach. I had a huge double door glass. What's the door that's glass? Sliding glass door. Sorry. My fucking brain.
You told me
I swear to God, I'm almost
40. The apartment was too small. There's nowhere to stay.
I don't remember that at all. I think Uncle Mark came, he slept on the floor. I don't remember that, but it could be true. Would have had a great time. It's fine. Let's move on. This isn't the podcast. We're not just gonna bitch at each other.
That'll be next week.
Exactly. Okay. So we had this beautiful sliding glass door with a small little patio that overlooked the Pacific Ocean. Now, when I say it was right on the beach, that's not technically right. It wasn't right on the beach. It was right across the street from the beach. Like you could walk to the ocean within like 10 minutes of like walking out of the building. So like we had a great view. We were up a little high, and I woke up at like, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and this never happened. We lived there for a year. This was the only time this ever happened. There was just this noise, this like loud, permeating, indescribable noise, something I've never heard before. I've never heard since. It was this throbbing hum, this like huge throbbing hum that felt like it was coming from nowhere and everywhere all at the same time. And I could kind of hear it when I was inside because I got up to go to the bathroom, and it was kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know what the fuck it was, but I walked out on the patio and it was louder. It was like definitely coming from the ocean. It was like, it was totally this weird sound coming from the ocean. And I go and I wake up my ex and bring her out. And I'm like, I'm not just imagining it, because granted, I had a few cocktails that night. Yeah. So I definitely wanted a witness. And I was like, I'm not imagining this, right? This is extremely strange. Like, this isn't something that we can just like dismiss, right? And she was like, no, what the fuck is that? It was so weird. And it was coming from, I want to say, towards the area of Catalina. Yeah. And after a while, like, it didn't go away. We were kind of like, okay, well, nothing's like flying out of the ocean or anything, so we're just going to go to bed and like didn't really think about it. But later on, what I learned is there is this huge conspiracy theory about an underwater base near Catalina. I don't know if you've heard this. Do you know about the Catalina Islands?
Yeah, I've been to Catalina, and then it's. And I'll tell you about the next episode is called Underground Bases that my brother Kevin and I we're actually recording tomorrow morning. And are
you going to cover this? Am I going to miss out on the fucking Catalina podcast? God damn it. That was going to be next. All right, fine.
Well, no, you can.
That's fine. No.
What we're doing, there's actually a submarine base in Nevada. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There's a submarine base in Nevada, and obviously I'll let you know. I know you don't listen to these from beginning to end sometimes, but
you're stalking my analytics, aren't you? Stalking my analytics. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm on a VPN, so like sometimes I'll be coming. No, you can't see it. I know about I know that don't know about VPNs. I could be coming from Dallas. I could be coming from New York. I could be coming from, I could be coming from Hyderabad, India.
Well, mine's, I work for a Fortune 500 company, and mine actually says that I'm halfway across the country when I'm on my VPN. So it's, I get it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm not as technologically challenged as you might think, sort of, but yes.
Hey, you're surprising the hell out of me. You know what a VPN is? All right. That's cool. Right now I'm just sounding like a dick.
Virtual personal network. Okay, right. I got it. So... Right. This base is, you could go, we're going to be traveling, I was talking to Debbie, we're going to be traveling to visit these, but Kevin and I are talking about, there's a base that is in Nevada where it's a submarine base, and it's on a lake called Wright's Lake, I think it is. And it's got signage and everything. Mm-hmm. And allegedly they test submarines there, and there's an actual underground river that runs from the base in Nevada all the way down to Santa Monica, where there's where it comes out, and I think what you're talking about is where it comes out from underneath the earth, and there's a military base there. So
no shit.
And also, I'll add to that, I was at Catalina. When I went to Catalina,
is this confirmed? Is this confirmed?
The underground river isn't confirmed, but I will say that I have a source in the DoD that I asked about this, and I got a no comment. And I was
Reveal your source. Reveal your sources.
I can't.
I want to hear it.
No. Well, I will, but after we're done. not to the whole freaking world, which is we're in 39. Now we're in 39. We're listened to in 39 countries, or 36 countries, 39 states, and 110 cities. So I don't want all these people to know.
Always flexing on me.
I know.
I swear to God, I get within striking distance of your subscribers, and then all of a sudden you shoot up. I think you're doing it. I think you're using your virtual personal network, and you're subscribing from all over the world just to fucking irritate me. You're destroying me in ratings.
You know who is doing it though is my brother, probably, because he did the John Teeter Time Traveler episode, and he's so patting himself on the back that thing is number one since we recorded it on December 23rd, and no other episode has been able to overtake it. And every once in a while, when one gets kind of close to him, all of a sudden there's 2 Modesto hits pop up. I go, dude, don't do that. Don't listen to yourself just to pad the analytics. Okay.
I got to tell you, I'm guilty of it myself, but it's more of a narcissistic thing. I just like to hear my own voice, and every now and then I just pop one on in the background just to listen to myself talk. But it's always a little embarrassing. I can't fool myself, or kind of. So when I open up the analytics, I'm like, kind of feel bad, like, oh God, there I am, listening to myself again.
I listen to every episode after. Yeah, I'll pop it on. So there's every episode I got one hit for me,
right,
because I want to hear it,
and you got to make sure I didn't fuck something up.
Yeah,
right. I did fuck up. I made one mistake one time.
Did I
put up the incorrect episode.
I just said,
you didn't yell.
I'm really careful because I know you're.
I yelled up.
You're volatile. I know. So I'm like, oh, I like describing me as volatile. I think that is like badass enough, but it's not like, okay, well, you're crazy, which is more, I think, appropriate right now at this point in my life. Your own father, when I started this thing, I know the listeners are gonna be like, what were we talking about? When we started this, like, hey, I was thinking about doing it, when I retire. I was thinking about doing a podcast about aliens and UFOs. The next thing I know, we're on every podcast platform on the planet practically. Okay, yeah. And I need an hour. I do 30 minutes. Okay, you need to do an hour every week. You got to get this thing rolling. And everything you said has come true. Of course, it's working. Yeah. It's obviously working.
I know it's working better than mine. Granted, I only have 5 episodes up right now, so I've got a little catching up to do. But I'm definitely seeing like a similar trajectory, which is good. But for some reason, I'm really big in France. I think similar to your India numbers. I don't really know who these people are.
Yeah, I only got like 2 hits in France, so I
don't know, and it's all different. All different cities, and it's weird. Well, let's see, because I'll advertise on my social media, and we'll see. Well, we don't want to. We'll see if it goes big in France too because of that. I don't know. I have no idea who these French people are. I love them, and I also love your listeners in India. I love all your listeners, and I would like to invite you once again to listen to Armageddon Dance Party, which is available on similar networks to my father's. And you have no idea kind of the weird complex him destroying me in ratings is doing to me. So please, I'm so lonely. Please listen to my podcast.
Well, eventually we're going to go video, and I'll have a guest on that can, show his blow up doll in the background like you did.
Yeah, I see. I'm breaking boundaries.
You are. I popped in, but I like the girl from you had. Did you date her from last night?
Which girl?
The last night.
I did date her. Yeah, and I promoted the pod. I can talk on this one about it. Okay. I promoted the podcast on my Twitter. And her ex-boyfriend threatened to kill me on Twitter because I promoted with it.
That's
and
nice.
I was like fighting with this dude on Twitter for like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? This is insane. But yeah, I dated her for not that long. We actually had an amicable breakup. It was quite refreshing in my life. And but I have like a variety of streamers and people that kind of come on and talk about a variety of different things. And we have good banter like this. I know we're we're messing with
topic.
we're messing with how you do things. I've kind of taken this over and turned it into one of my things, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of how
fine.
I like to do things. I drink a lot of caffeine, and I don't get a lot of kind of activities going because I can't leave my house. So this is like the only way I have to like get out my energy.
Yeah, my wife says, yeah, you just try to like enjoy drawing to me, drawing attention to yourself, and I go, yeah, do you know me? I do not like any kind of attention drawn to myself, But I will say, I'm happy you ran with this because I'm having the most fun and the most contact with people. And Debbie joins in when I go, I don't have a guest this week. Why don't you join in? And she'll go over. We'll review the topic because she isn't as up on things necessarily, and really has no interest in this. But now she's gaining an interest in it, and she goes, oh yeah, Skinwalker Ranch, and we watch there's the episodes on Skinwalker Ranch on history, and we know about that. So it's gotten. I get different. I've drawn in, Robert's been, or obviously you've been on it. Brandon's been on it. Debbie's been on it. Kevin's been on it. Bill's on it. Bill's like, here's the next 2 episodes we're doing together, and we have to make appointments. Okay, Saturday morning, I have to put it on my calendar because Debbie's like, this is starting to be kind of a job, and I'm like, well, it's designed to be, get better and better each week, and it's going to take more effort and more people. But as I bring on, then I got Flat Earth Girl coming. Yeah, I told you about her.
All right.
She is. I've got people. I think we're going to switch the studio to the game room, and we're hoping that the COVID thing will be settled, down by then, because there's people that really want to be here for that. I mean, they said, we want to be here to listen to Flat Earth Girls. We want to ask her questions. We want to know what's going on with Flat Earth. And,
well, you can always do it. You can always do it through Discord. You can invite. You can invite.
Yeah,
you can invite people just like this. You can bring them on and have them talk. I mean, if it's a bunch of old people, I think that you probably should lead in about an hour and make sure everyone's got it all handled first. But
Yeah. Now, okay, so let's move on with now that we've solved.
All right, sorry.
No, you're good. I started it. So the most logical explanation of the firefight is that obviously we've covered this. Trigger-happy servicemen and rudimentary radar systems that combined for the false alarms. But in the 83, the Office of Air Force History combined the events of the LA air raid and noted that the meteorological balloons had been released prior to the barrage to help determine wind conditions. Now, their lights in silver color could have been what first triggered the alerts. Once the shooting began, the disorienting combination of searchlights, smoke, and anti-aircraft flak might have led gunners to believe they were firing on enemy planes, even though none were actually present. So I don't, it's just balloons. It's like it took us to 80, like 40 years later, right? Yeah, who's thinking this? Somebody's at their desk or their cubicle going, yeah, we're gonna have to talk about the Battle of Los Angeles again, and why don't we let loose the balloon theory? I mean, what are you thinking? We're done with the balloon thing. We're done with Roswell balloons.
Yeah.
We're done with flying. Bill and I are doing flying. There's Don Kehoe he was an Air Force officer turned True magazine reporter on UFOs, and we read 2 of his books. Flying Saucers Are Real, The Flying Saucers Are Real, and UFO. There's a UFO book as well. So we're reviewing the books, and this guy is just out of control about some of these stories on, what didn't, though there's no balloons in Roswell. It's, the guy went over the, one. Yeah, I mean, we beat Roswell to death. It's something we've discussed on previous episodes. I mean, I think they're almost tired of hearing about it, but, and I don't think we're going to get anything new on Roswell. We just know that, basically, well, we don't know, but we're pretty sure that, it was UFOs. So, so is it likely the Battle of Los Angeles was only a mirage? What do you think? You think it was, you know, you think it was a balloon? I know you were saying, I don't know. I don't think it's a balloon. Do you think it could be a flying
I think
saucer?
I'm half. I'm half on it. Again, like the flying saucer fucking up this bad and like causing this much damage. I find it suspicious. The balloon thing also is suspicious, but the secondary balloon being released, I could see why that would make it last longer. But then again, they would always try to, especially around this time, if you believe kind of that UFOs are real. This was the time when they were doing like major cover-ups during these stories, like Roswell, and of course this one too. So I'm torn on it. Like I'm not either way on it. Definitely happened. It definitely didn't. So yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting to me. It's an interesting piece of history, even outside of UFOs, just for like World War II buffs, which I also am, and like, the stories of that happened during World War II. And this is again like after the only attack on mainland America, this kind of weird thing that happened, and then also people whisper that it could have been a UFO. The pictures speak for themselves. It was an incredible, amazing thing that happened. Obviously, thoughts and prayers for those 5 people that died of heart attacks, which I didn't even think I knew of. That was crazy. But it's cool, man. It's cool.
The Japanese would later hatch several schemes to attack the American mainland, including launching over 9,000 explosives-laden fire balloons. Yet none of them ever produced the level of mass hysteria that accompanied the Phantom shootout over LA. I don't know. That's kind of creepy. It's kind of like the Nazis, they came up with all the strange things that, they did, but I don't know.
Have you done Nazi UFO stuff yet?
Not yet. They got the bell. There was that one where there's the bell that goes into the future.
It's like time.
The
time traveling bell. Yeah, that's awesome.
They fired up this bell looking. I say it's a bell. The vehicle was shaped like a bell, and they launched it inside this cage looking thing, and then it would disappear, and then it would end up in. It ended up in the future in this forest next to this air base. I think I remember yet. I've got, Debbie's, when I first started this, we keep going back to this, but Debbie said, is there enough stuff on aliens and UFOs and Bigfoots and things for you to carry on this very long? And I go, there's unlimited amount of material here. I mean, so many things have happened over the years and are still, even today. Well, this was a few years ago with the fighter plane and the Tic Tac UFO over Catalina Island, over the ocean next to Long Beach, which is across from Catalina Island. And when I went to Catalina Island, I zip tied, and the guys that would accompany us so we don't kill ourselves were up there, and you start way at the top. And so I said, hey, I've heard that, there's UFOs, because they live there. And are there UFOs? Have you seen anything? And both the guys were like, yeah, we see them all the time. They go into the ocean. They're like ocean. They call them, they have a different name for the ocean UFOs. They're not UFOs, or sea UFOs or something. But in this, because the ocean is like, the ocean by Catalina is, between Catalina and Long Beach is, I'm going to guess, I think 40,000. It's some crazy, amount of feet underwater. It's incredible. So when I took a helicopter when I went there from Long Beach by the Queen Mary, you can schedule a helicopter in there, a reserve one. And I took the helicopter across. Pilot starts hovering over. Oh, look, there's a whale. And I'm like, let's see this whale. There's like 5 people there's him and 5 other people in the helicopter. And he starts going really low, like, so everybody can see the whale. And I'm like, dude, it's fucking 40,000 feet of water. I really don't want to have this whale slap the helicopter and us fall into the ocean over 40,000 feet of water. You know, can we just continue on with our 10 minutes?
We all know what whales look like.
Yeah, you know. And I don't want to be swimming around or possibly getting stuck in the helicopter while it goes, you know, down 40,000 feet, and I'll be seeing UFOs right before the thing explodes. But, you know, it's
one of the only victims of like a whale-related tragedy.
Yeah, but I know that would be my destiny. You know, it would so eventful and tragic. You know that it's. But yeah, it was weird because those guys are like, oh yeah, we see them all the time. And both of them just the same. Yeah, we see those things all the time. And I'm like, oh man, it's. I mean, there's a ghost. Catalina. Have you been to Catalina?
I have. Yeah, I've been a couple of times. And the second time I was supposed to do the helicopter ride, and so irritating. Like we just got grounded for like 3 hours waiting for this helicopter ride. And then finally, I'm like, fuck it, let's just take the ferry.
Yeah.
And then as we were getting off the ferry onto the island, the helicopter lands.
Of course. Yeah, of course, that's what it was.
The story of my life.
It's amazing. It's an amazing. I mean, it's just, you know, a basic helicopter ride, but it's really, it's you know, pretty awesome. I would urge you to do that. But it's on top of have you been to the Wrigley, the gum people are the ones that, you know, the story about the Catalina, the chewing gum people had a baseball team, and they used the island for this baseball facility that they had up there, and they did at the top they have all the botanical garden on top. Have you been there? You rent a golf cart from right at the wharf where
I did the golf cart thing. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Did you go to the botanical garden on the top? Did you ever get a chance to do that?
I can't remember. I want to say I did. Yeah, I want to say I did.
You go up there, and then there was this old weird caretaker up there, and there was nobody there. And I wandered up there, and of course, there's a bunch of plants and shit, but they had this big, like, building thing that had two sets of stairs coming up to it. And he said that the Wrigleys he told me the story that the Wrigleys, two of the children had been buried there. I think they moved the bodies or something, but they were cremated or whatever. They were in there, and the thing was supposed to be haunted and all this. And I was following the dude around like thinking, you know, myself being, you know, an annoyance. And I follow him. He goes, oh yeah, there's thing. I go, well, what's under this thing? He goes, oh, the door's open on the side. And there's like all these bees around there. So he just walks through this sea of bees, you know, no protection, just has a hat on. Yeah, here, I'll show you what's under here. There's a bunch of stuff. It was so dark. He had a flashlight, and he goes, look under here. And I'm like, I can start to get freaked out because, like, there was nobody there but us. And I'm like, he's going to kill me. And there's something under here that he's going to hide the body. You know, but he didn't. He was just really cool. But he goes, watch this. He turns the flashlight. He turns the flash. He closes the door, which further freaked me out because now it's pitch black. And I'm waiting for the hatchet to just come down, right? And he turns the flashlight on.
I would have yelled.
I knew he was going to close the door, but the intensity of the dark was so foreboding. It just freaked me out. And he turns the flashlight on, and the flashlight beam goes in, and it like stops after probably 20 feet. It's like the dark absorbed the light, and it wouldn't go any further. He goes, isn't that interesting? And I'm like, yeah, let me out. Yeah, let me out. You know, yeah, that's interesting. You know, I'm not that curious. You want to go over there? No, I don't. I don't want to go over there. I've seen all I want to see. You know, I want to get back in my golf cart and get the hell out of here. You know, it was just I don't know. It wasn't any like spook. It was like just weird. I'm like, you know, this whole trip, I don't know. So
yeah, that's it's a weird place, man. I don't know. Like, I can't believe that people just like live there like that. They live there as a residence.
I would live there.
Just,
I would live there if I could. But you kind of there's a limited amount of things you can do though.
Yeah, like I feel like it's Vegas. It's like a 2-day city, right? And it's like, then what do you do? You know,
yeah.
like
I mean,
you can't just ride golf carts the rest of your life around
really
the little island.
It's limited in the amount of places you can go. You can take if you take the helicopter, there's another place you can land on the other side of the other side of the island. And allegedly, there's a I don't know what the facility was. If it was like a theater or something that's supposedly haunted. I mean, it's pretty noted haunted place. We'll probably, if we do the Catalina thing, I think we'll probably have enough to tie in everything, you know, with the Catalina story, because the whole area is weird, you know. But with the light thing also, with that flashlight thing also, there was another, I was remembering, MUFON said, you know, the lights, when they showed the picture of the lights, it goes, please note that when they shine all those spotlights, you know, those are like the spotlights they used to use when in the back in the day when, you know, they had a grocery store opening, one of those things, but you know, used for the military to see planes at night. And there was, I think, half a dozen of them that they showed in that picture. They were shining on that one item in the sky. It was, please note, those beams stopped at whatever that was they were shining on. You know, they weren't like crossing over. You would think that they would cross over each other. Look at the picture. The beam stopped. What's stopping that beam from going up?
Yeah.
You know, through the, you know, further up into the sky. I won't go to space. They're not that popular, or not popular, not that powerful.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, let's wrap it up, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, you know, senior producer Robert, who, you know, puts us on, you know, any popular podcast, you know, forum that you can think of. And catch us on Alien Pro Pod on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, and on the web, alienprobe.net. And please send us questions, comments on alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, Robert, for joining us. And
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right.